They stick to it.
They stick to it. They can't even speak.
Yeah, and sexual harassment is it's a very vast and very wide area. But maybe from you, Joy, the lines, where do you draw the lines of sexual harassment? Because there are those who feel, if you came dressed really nicely, I mean, I don't know whether the tone that I'll use would be different, but somebody might say, you're looking really good. That could be translated to just be a compliment. The others who might feel offended because, hey, what are you seeing beyond the fact that I'm dressed? So where do you draw that line?
In terms of drawing the line, we are guided by the policy. We have a sexual harassment policy, which we have shared to our staff.
At least the standard group, we
yes,
have that, yeah.
In terms of now, we do it. We have it in the intranet, and also we have been giving snippets on it, because some of the things, as you're saying, which are found, like you know, you can be looking at somebody in a flirtatious manner, and you just don't think about it, you pass it, or you just make a comment. But to the other person is offended. So you have to be able to understand who you'll be able to communicate with. Because if I'm able to communicate maybe with you and I'm able to drop a line and you laugh it off, that's okay. But I have to look at somebody else. I can say, for this person, I can't be able to drop such a line. It's going to be crossing the line. So we also have to have a lot of emotional intelligence when you're addressing issues of sexuality, because it's really, really, it's a big problem. It's very sensitive. Yeah. So some of the things which looking at somebody in a manner likely to suggest can also be can also be counted to be like sexual harassment. So you have to be really careful as who you're dealing with and how you can create the boundaries as a person. So we have shared shared the policy so that the staff can be able to understand how the boundaries.
Okay, Jambi, any experience with sexual harassment, or maybe not necessarily yourself, but maybe just so that you may advise and you may help our brothers out there, because sometimes it gets tricky. Yeah. There are some ladies who actually feel bad that nobody compliments them. Yet there are others, because there's so many compliments, they get to a point where they're like, is there something wrong about me? Why is everybody commenting?
Okay. About experiencing sexual harassment, yes, that has happened in so many spaces, not just the workplace. But I think it's also very important not to reduce sexual harassment to compliments, because sexual harassment is essentially a game of power. Who has the power and who doesn't have the power. If, for example, you are an intern, let me just use an intern, and you've come into the newsroom as we are, and you're working for a person, be it a man or a woman, and this man or woman is using his power or her power to make you do things for sexual favors. That if you do not give me sexual favors, I will not give you this assignment, or I will not give you this promotion. So it has gotten to a space whereby women and men, but I'm focusing on the women because of the day, that you feel that I cannot be able to move forward because I would need to give sexual favors to this person. Or if someone makes an untoward move or comment towards me that makes me uncomfortable, I cannot speak because my job is on the line. You know, my future is on the line. So it's very important that sexual harassment is looked at beyond just compliments. Compliments is a matter of EQ. If we are close, Michael, I can tell you, hey, by the way, you're looking very good. You get, but if we're not close, I will not find it easy to do that.
It'll be weird.
But sexual harassment is much bigger than that, and that's why it's become such a big deal, because women and men are failing to progress personally and career-wise because of that.
Okay.
Just to add something like, issues to do with the sexual harassment. Most people focus on the manifestation of it, but we need to ask ourselves, what exactly is sexual harassment? Do you even know that what you're doing is considered, you know? So for me, and actually that is one thing that we are doing as a Standard Group Women Network, is to ensure that staff, they are empowered. We have a campaign and they know exactly what sexual harassment is, and most importantly, they are aware of the repercussions of sexual harassment. And that is something we are working towards, because we want people, when they come in during the induction, they actually append their signature, so that in case that happens and they will have to deal with the consequences, then people will understand the gravity of sexual harassment.
Of sexual harassment.
Exactly.
Said a little bit. During our survey, among the 10 parameters, one was on sexual harassment. The feedback was very low on that matter in terms of, we had some questions you're asking around sexual harassment. Have you been harassed? Do you know anybody has been harassed? It was generally very, very low. But I can say what has been brought, we don't have a lot of incidences, at least in certain group, but what has been brought to attention, we're able to deal with it. And as the President has said, we've been able to incorporate it in our induction program, especially for the interns, because we want them to be aware that
from the point where they're coming
there's this conception that in the media industry that there's a lot of harassment that goes on for you to get. So we are trying to educate them that it's not, standard group is different. We don't do that.
And Najma, you've been in media for a long time. You've done radio, TV, different areas of, what's your experience, especially when it comes to sexual harassment or even discrimination?
For sexual harassment, I think I have what people say, Surayakazi, so I've not, I've not been able to. No one has actually tried anything on me. I think maybe because I am a people's person, and before you even start doing that, you're like, hey, this is my buddy, she's my friend. I've not had any experiences, I'm very lucky. And but in terms of discrimination, this one particularly, I don't know if I can call it sexual harassment, but it's something that I want to discuss later on, if you give me a minute. It's now when you're in the media, like when you're doing primetime news, and I am dressed the way I am dressed, with a hijab and everything, and I'm competing with other stations that women are not dressed the way I am dressed. So, you know, there's just that conflict where the expectations are, you know, Najma, you have to dress a certain way to bring viewership. I think this is something that we need to get rid of in this industry. Absolutely. Like, you know, she cannot be in the same platform as somebody else, because she's all covered up and people, you know, people don't watch. They want to be to see a bit more and stuff like that.
And there's what society has also defined as sexy.
Yes.
And maybe that doesn't quite fit what society is looking out for.
And okay, TV is entertainment. At some point, I remember I was walking into the studio. They told me, before you say you're doing a global intro, why don't you just catwalk a bit? And I said, I'm not going to do that. I am not comfortable. I can't do that, you know. So I think we need to create a space where women like me can be comfortable. They don't have to catwalk. We can sit behind the desk and, you know, just do the news and, you know, do our job.
I mean, I've never been asked to catwalk, so
come on, Michael.
The thing, Mike, is now sexual harassment, especially in the recent times where we have movements like Me Too, it's a big deal. And basically what it's trying to do is to encourage women to speak up. And the other thing about sexual harassment, because I know viewers are probably wondering, where are the women? We are not talking about women because we are women. Sexual harassment can actually happen even the other way around, to the men. And yes, we encourage men to speak up in case that happens. You can be harassed from your boss or your female colleague can harass you sexually. It has happened. The same applies even to domestic violence. Men have been abused, and at least in the recent times, we've seen men coming out and saying, my wife beats me up, and they're even willing to talk about it. It's a step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yes.
All right, I'm told we're almost out of time, so I'll need your closing comments. And today being International Women's Day, Najma, I can see you wanted to put in something.
I wanted to balance for better International Women's Day, balance for better. I'd like to see more stories that are, you know, female stories in the media. Let's not give the interns the soft stories. They go. The first time I came to TV, I was given a fashion show at a women's prison. Let's see the women interns, or the ones who come in, go do political stories. They go to court. They do the hard stories. Also, the representation of the women. We need to have, you know, women as the first story of the day, not other stories. You know, in newsroom lingo is other stories after the break. We need to have those stories. You know, let it be the first story. Okay, I'm pushing my luck if it's the first story, because I know there's politics and everything, but let us just have women's stories, second or third stories before the break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Queen.
My final words?
Yes, your final remarks. And remember, it's International Women's Day. So this would be an opportunity for you to just let the other women, give them your message.
Yes, I'm going to first of all talk to everyone, because balance for better for me means we need to have balance in terms of wealth creation and distribution, especially for women. We need to have balance in the boardrooms. We need to have balance in the C-suites. We need to have balance in, I mean, even at home. We want men to help around. I mean, if I'm not able to
do certain
things, yes, you're able to step in. Balance for better is basically giving everyone an opportunity to be their best version. And to the men, International Women's Day is not just a celebration for women, it's also a celebration for men, because men were born out of a woman. They are a product of women, and therefore it is also a celebration of them. So this is not a day to, scorn women and to make fun of them. It is a day to actually celebrate the steps that women have made, especially in the fight for equity, not equality. Because the truth of the matter is that we can never be the same.
We can never be.
Women can only be better.
Jambi,
I cannot even talk that, but for me, it's for the women about taking care of yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So it's important to be selfish in terms of self-care. It's a very deliberate thing. The guilt thing we were talking about, it's important to just kind of shelve it, go for what you want, if it's education, if it's career progression, if it's children, if it's being a wife, but do not let society's barriers close you in. But most importantly, don't let it weigh you down. You need to find a way to balance it all. So take your time, remove the guilt, and just do you. Balance.
All right,
absolutely. Okay, for me, I see charity begins at home. When you talk about addressing the women issues, it's good to address. We start at home first. In this case, we start with the standard group. And I'm happy that the progress you have made so far is good. We have been able to have some focus groups, and we've been able to engage the ladies and get a lot of information, which is helping us be able to know how we can be able to address the issues. We're hoping that next time we do the next engagement, we'll have the levels up, and most of this we're having monthly activities whereby we do give the ladies we do get different facilitators who come and address the issues, some of the issues that we feel can help us get more engaged. And also we are going big, because in terms of being able to get ladies in the decision making, we need to be able to mentor and coach them. So that's a big thing for us this year. We want to go real big out, and so to be able to have as many ladies mentored and coached, so they can be able to have the self-esteem and the confidence to be able to be on the same, compete in the same platform with the men. We are not asking for positions to be handed over. It's we become as competitive. Yes, we be very competitive in the way that when you sit in an interview or we sit in decision making, we are able to be heard and our points are taken. So that we are going big on that.
Fantastic. Najma, you have the last word.
Oh, thank you. Another one. Let's not splash the negative stories about women to be the first story. Like for it to make a headline, it has to be negative. It has to be a woman in poverty, she committed atrocities, or she's a side chick. Let's have positive stories. There's so many women making progress out there. We need to see them in the front line.
All right.
Absolutely. One more last one. I really want to thank the CEO, the HR director, and the HODs there. They have been really supportive in this thing. You cannot work, we cannot be able to form this network without the support. So we really want to thank our CEO, Mr. Orlando. We have our director, Mr. Nicholas. They are gentlemen, but they have been able to be members of the network. They are holding our hands and making sure that we're able to achieve. And the HODs and the men are very supportive. So we really want to thank the men of Standard Group for holding the women and saying we are going together.
Absolutely.
Really thank them.
All right, thank you very much. It's been great having you ladies this morning, and maybe we should do this more often. It should not just be for International Women's Day. It can be done more often. Once in a while, let's just come and have a chit chat and include the men, because at the end of the day, it is very difficult to get women's things done if men are not included. So that's where we're going to have to wind up the show. It is now 6 minutes to 9 o'clock. Thank you so much for watching Morning Express, and balance for better. Have yourselves a good